Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, folks, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of True Conservative Radio. I'm your host, of course, the man they call Ghost, and I thank you once again for tuning in with me. This is going to be an hour-and-a-half edition as opposed to the 2-hour edition that I regularly schedule. Unfortunately, I have some personal matters, and I've got some time to kill before I have to partake in those particular matters in question, and that's why we have the hour-and-a-half time limit on this particular show. But we're still going to have a great show, folks. It's a pretty tasty news day. It seems to be a habitual thing as far as a tasty news day on the political front. A lot of mudslinging going on out here, folks, I'm telling you. And it's just completely unbearable. It's getting borderline ridiculous, and it's not helping the country, not one iota. And I know everybody's out there, chanting, hooping, and hollering their candidate, but the bottom line is, folks, all right, the bottom line is that we have a bunch of liberals that are out here for power, all right, and they're doing whatever it takes. All right, utilizing any method of agitation, of slanderous lies, it's just getting pretty ridiculous out here. On both sides, folks, on both sides. I'm not just singling out any one side in particular. And we're going to talk about most of those here this evening with this special hour-and-a-half edition of True Conservative Radio. Folks, by all means, go ahead and get back to me if you'd like to chime in on anything we're discussing this evening. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. Or you can always get back to us here whenever we're on live and you happen to catch us. You can go to the webpage, www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. It's Ghost. And you can hit us up in the chat room. We always have a live chat room whenever we're broadcasting live. And once again, I'm sorry to all the folks that are out there missing me and that keep sending me emails about, hey, we keep missing you. We're hearing you in the archive and that sort of thing. Well, my apologies on that. We're trying to configure a pretty good time to have the program, True Conservative Radio. A time that would be generally accepted amongst the audience that listens to me on a consistent basis, whether it's live or in the archive, and I appreciate it, folks, believe me. I mean, you're the only reason why I come up on here and continue to give commentary, because I want to have discussion, discourse, and political debate about issues that we all talk about on this program. And we should feel lucky to have such mediums to inspire such debate, inspire such discourse. Unfortunately, you have a lot of people out here, specifically on the Blog Talk Radio Network, utilizing this as another method of propaganda and just spewing off a bunch of regurgitated talking points that really have no substance to the American people. And you have a lot of that out here. And I don't mean to single out the Blog Talk Radio Network. You can search all these outlets for internet broadcasting, whether it's on the visual front or on the audio front. Hell, even on the text front, as far as the blogosphere and all that's concerned, this is all being utilized by people to spread propaganda. And what you need to do, folks, all right, as a content gatherer, as somebody who listens to the content, you just need to take it in and absorb it and analyze it critically. I mean, that's what people fail to do whenever they watch the boob tube to gather for their news or their information. They just take it for face value, and that's all there is to it. That's why we have such a disenchanted population here in America that is being subdued by our media. And remember, folks, we live in a free society. All right, let's just calm down here. I know I've been, hooping and hollering about the fact that we've got liberal, long-haired hippies taking over not only the Republican Party but the Democratic Party. There really is no distinction outside of the war and outside of the well, to be honest with you, I would like to say outside of the entitlement issues, but you got John Turncoat McCain talking about giving more entitlements out here to people. We don't want entitlements, folks. I mean, true American people, all right? True people that are patriotic, that believe in America, the American Constitution. We don't want to transition into a socialist government. And that's been my whole point and my whole premise every time I get on here and attempt to provide some discourse on these subject matters. And I've gotten a lot of emails suggesting that, I'm getting a little bit controversial, borderline, I guess conspiracy theorist nonsense. Well, there's no such thing as conspiracy theorist when everything I have put forth and my criticisms that I put forth on anything that I talk about is backed up by the public record. It's backed up by documents, folks. That's why every time you can look back in the archive, every time I've commentated, I always suggest to the audience that they need to go out and do their research. Read it for themselves. I mean, that's what people need to do. That's what I'm encouraging out here. I mean, I'll give you the seeds of what's going on out here, but if you don't believe me, don't just sit over there and try to deny it. Go out there and prove me wrong. Prove yourself right. Or prove yourself wrong. Either way, folks. That's my suggestion. That's why I keep coming up on here, talking conservative commentary and believing in America, believing in the American Constitution, believing in the American family. This is why I come up here, folks, and every time I come up here, of course, I've got people from the left, these damn tree-hugging, environmentalist, whale-saving, long-haired, liberal, bedwetting hippies out here. They're always going to hate me because I believe in freedom. The foundation of liberalism, folks, is communism. You can look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. Take a look at all these supposed liberal groups out here, the supposed liberal think tanks and these organizations, the ACLU. I don't even want to say, just take a look at these supposed liberal organizations and take a look at the root. Take a look at how they began. Take a look at the founders of these liberal organizations, and then you'll get a whiff of what I'm talking about there, folks. You need to do this research, folks. All right? I mean, don't frown upon having to go out and read something. Don't frown upon it, damn it. It's good to go out and do research. It's good to read, all right? Put the damn remote control down, forget about the boob tube for once. All right, I know it's been so anesthetized in our brain that we must watch the boob tube for some sort of, mental contentment. But the bottom line is, folks, is that you need to be a little bit more critical about the situation that you're currently living in because you are living this life, okay? And we did have forefathers, all right, our forefathers that came to this country, that built this country, that wrote one of the most brilliant pieces of political literature on the face of the planet, and that is the United States Constitution. And I think everybody should read that, be very acquainted with it, understand what their rights are, understand what the Revolutionary War was fought for, what this social experiment that we call our present-day society, where it's rooted in, where it came from. This is what people need to understand, folks, and they don't. You know what they're more worried about? They're more worried about what in the hell is going to happen on these ridiculous, dumbass reality shows. And the reality shows aren't even real. That's what these morons in zombie land out here, all right, this vast wasteland of just people that are just anesthetized by a box with moving pictures. They're more worried about these ridiculous reality shows, and you know what? They're not real, folks, okay? Learn a little bit about how television is created, okay? And ask yourself, why do you continue to have to watch all these ridiculous commercials and why everybody always has to go to break? Well, the reason they're going to break is because everybody's making lots of money there, okay? And the only way they're going to make money is if they have you looking at their show. And the only way they're going to have you looking at their show is if they create a show And let me tell you, reality, to be completely honest with you, reality most of the time doesn't really create a good show. Most of the time, I mean. So you got these TV producers basically writing impromptu scripts with Nimrodic lab rats, basically. This is like a lab rat experiment. Every time you see a reality show on television, it is a lab rat experiment. You have these morons out here participating in events that no human being would ever find themselves into. They purposely pick these outlandish, Nimrodic, non-substance-filled personalities to go out here and make complete jackasses of themselves. You know, prancing around half naked out here. You got these morons, you know, and let me tell you something, at least in the beginning, you know, this whole reality show phenomenon, at least they were still trying to cast these badasses out here. You know, you always had some badasses that were trying to pick fights, thought they were bad. You know, you don't even see that anymore in these reality shows. You know what you see in these reality shows? A bunch of fruity-ass, you know, Fruit Loops. I mean, you know, with all due respect to the, you know, feminine, well, screw that, because, I mean, I remember when feminine males was a minority. Now it's the damn majority. The bottom line is that's all you're seeing on every one of these reality shows. Just to take a look at the American Idol. Take a look at all the males on American Idol and see, and you know what, just make a comparison. We're in the day and age where we can get content on demand out here. There's a whole bunch of video content providers out here, all of them. You know, and I don't want to name any because I don't want to give any type of props or anything, all right, without paying any type of advertising, because that's the way the world works. That's the way we constructed it. But however you get your video content, I challenge you to go ahead, take a look at the American Idol contestants that are on right now. The males, mind you. The males. And take a look at the feminine features that are prominent, if not all these bastards. Okay? And you compare that to anything, any kind of show, any piece of programming that was aired during the 80s, 70s, and prior. You compare the two, there is no damn comparison. And this is a liberal agenda, folks. And let me tell you something, I'm in the process of having a real good show about feminism once again. Of course, I'm sure all the feminists and teachers and liberals that are out there having a big sigh right now. They're just, oh, here he goes again with the feminist question. Let me tell you something, folks. I'm not imagining this, and I'm going to provide proof. Okay, I'm going to have another debate about this, not this show, but in a future show, and I want you to stay tuned for that. I've got proof that feminism and liberalism and all this political correctness crap traces right back to communism. It traces right back to communism, folks, all this garbage. And let me tell you, I can't wait because I'm gathering up all the sources right now. So all you folks that are in disbelief, that try to discredit me because I don't oblige myself to this feminist liberal agenda out here, especially you damn feminists out here that say things and just spread all kinds of garbage that you want to kill me, and I'm a chauvinist because I'm stating the obvious. And what is the obvious? The obvious is feminism is rooted in communism. And I am going to have a show here right in the near future, folks, and I'm going to provide documentation. I'm going to give you links to documentaries. I'm going to do whatever it takes to convince you people that all this garbage that we're witnessing right now in today's America is communist-based, folks. That's right. And if you can't wait, and you want to do your own research, I'm going to give you a little heads up on it, okay? And everything's on the internet, folks. I don't ever tell you anything to believe it. I always say, and you can look back in the archive, I always say look it up for yourself because you need to see it to believe it. You need to see it. You need to find it. So if you want a little bit of a heads up on the roots of liberalism and feminism. I mean, liberalism, basically, its roots go back to Karl Marx, okay? But I'm talking about the political correctness, feminism, gender bias, all this garbage. I want you to read a little bit about Frankfurt University. That's right. Why don't you read a little bit about that? Frankfurt University. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because I'm going to provide a pretty good little lecture on this whole subject matter, because everybody out here thinks I'm just talking out of my derriere when I talk about the feminist question. Everybody just thinks, oh, you're just a chauvinist, Ghost. But you see, this is a method of agitation that traces back to this particular university, folks. Okay? The absolutely intolerance under the guise of tolerance. This is a method that was written. It's written down in theoretical communist fashion. This is the new war that the communists are inflicting upon us. And if you don't believe me, I'm telling you, folks, please keep up to date with me. I know I don't have a consistent day of the week, time of the hour, whenever I come up on here and do a show, but it's going to be a very interesting situation. I'm going to provide all kinds of documentation, links to videos, so people can see it for themselves, that all this garbage that we're witnessing right now, this political correctness crap, this feminist crap, this garbage that's being spewed off in the public education system, it is all rooted in communism, Marxism, all that leftist garbage. I'm telling you. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on a tirade in that manner. This has been a juicy news day for all the political junkies out there that are always having their eyes glued to the political world, whether it's on the domestic end or on an international level. Me, I'm just an all-around junkie, to be honest with you. I just like to look at what's going on in the international community and the domestic policies of our present-day government. It's a lot of overwhelming data, but to be honest with you, all you have to do is read. And if we didn't frown upon reading so much out here in America, I think that we'd have a little bit more intelligent people. But unfortunately, we don't, folks. But something I wanted to comment on, I've been talking about the Clinton slime machine as it pertains to the Democratic race. And everybody thinks I'm just talking out of my derriere. Everybody thinks that Barack Hussein Obama is just he's just got it in the bag. And I've said it, and I challenge everybody, look back in the archives. I've been saying it since the beginning. I've been saying everything since the beginning. Haven't you noticed that, folks? And people are still trying to discredit me, even though I'm on the record for saying the exact events that are taking place right now. Haven't you noticed that? And you got these Republicans out here that have been basically called out as wrong many times that still have some sort of credibility with the minions out here that need to leech onto something that's a group thing or something. I have no idea. But I'm telling you, the Clinton machine is not done. I wouldn't anoint Barack Obama the winner at this point. And I didn't really mean for that to rhyme or anything, but the bottom line is, folks, is that I don't know if you've been watching the media, and if you're a political junkie, and if you're listening to this show, more than likely you're a political junkie here. Now, I don't know if you've been watching the news as of late, but it's alleged, of course, everything's always alleged, that the Clinton campaign, the Clinton slime machine, leaked out a photo. That's right, they leaked out a photo of a young Barack Obama in a damn turban. Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, I was sitting there eating a T-bone steak. I almost choked on the damn bone when I saw this idiot in a damn turban. I mean, this is pretty damning stuff, if you will, folks. And this is why I always suggested to all these people that are worried about the Democrats, let me tell you something, the Democrats have their problems right now. But I think we have a bigger problem. I think that as far as the Republican side, and I know whenever I say we, I say the in reference to the Republicans. I was a Republican. I was a lifelong Republican. I've renounced the Republican Party because they've submitted to liberalism. But what I want to happen, folks, and what needs to happen, you have to understand, folks, the Clinton slime machine, I guarantee, the Clinton slime machine was not only behind this Barack Obama turban situation. I guarantee that the Clinton slime machine was behind, and this is alleged, of course, I have no proof of this, but I'm just speculating, okay? This is my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if the Clinton slime machine did the same damn thing to John McCain with this banging lobbyist story. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is what I'm telling you people out here, you blinded Republicans that are submitting yourself to this idiot John Turncoat liberal McCain. You know, this man is not going to win the election against either one of these people, Barack Hussein Obama or Hillary Rotten Clinton. He's not going to win. He's not going to do it. And I can't believe that this whole banging lobbyist story has just been swept under the table, and the Republicans are just going to go ahead and anoint this man as the Republican presidential candidate, knowing that this man partook in philanderous-like activity, Clinton-esque, so to speak, and you have these Republicans stumbling over their own tongue trying to explain and kind of validate that situation. It's a damn shame, man. I mean, you know, I remember when the Republicans and the conservatives, we stood for principles, folks. A principle. Our beliefs, that's what organized us, remember that? Less taxes, less government in our faces, less government bureaucracy. But now it seems to be the method of separation to us, and it's really a shame. I still believe in this system, folks. I mean, there's empirical evidence that if you get enough popular demand in America, things happen. I mean, the civil rights movement, perfect example of that. I mean, you had domestic civil unrest with peace marches and, you know, kind of media highlight mechanisms that put kind of a spotlight on the issue of civil rights. And then you had more and more people talking about the issue, more and more people discussing, having discourse on the subject matter. I mean, and this is how our democracy works. And then what happened? You had Lyndon Baines Johnson signing the Civil Rights Act. Now, you know, let me tell you something. This was in my opinion, okay, I think that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a racist bastard. All right? I mean, he was a racist piece of trash. I mean, you can hear him make all kinds of racial slurs on the record. But the only reason that he signed the Civil Rights Act because, you know, the majority of the populace wanted the Civil Rights Act enacted, man. So the bottom line is that our democracy works. It's a very tough hurdle to try to gather up community support, then city support, then regional support, then national support. It's a big hurdle, especially when you have a corporate media that won't give two rats' asses about your cause unless you're going to flip the bill for a pretty, you know, expensive advertisement. And even that's not going to guarantee you that anybody's really going to give two rats' asses about your issue. So this is what I'm talking about, folks. I mean, you know, our democracy can change just as long as there's enough people out there that are educated enough, that are articulate enough, that are persuasive enough, that have good arguments that can, you know, convince the American psyche. And what is the American psyche? The American psyche is just wanting something better to create a better environment that is conducive to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness right here in our homeland in America. I mean, that's all it comes down to. And you got these politicians, these damn power-hungry autocrats in Washington finding it a hard thing to do. I mean, what's the problem, bureaucrats? What's the damn problem? And I think, folks, and I still believe in this country, I know that we have a lot of nefarious activity as it pertains to this merger or perceived merger. It hasn't been, you know, out in the open, but it's definitely an illusion of a merger based on trade deals and that sort of thing. And what I'm talking about is this North American Union concept. And that merges Mexico, the United States of America, and Canada all into one single entity based on economics and other general principles of law, which, by the way, folks, erases the Constitution, okay? But, I mean, it hasn't come to full-fledged at this point, but we need to start talking about issues of this nature. And I know that a lot of people, whenever they come across so many issues, because believe me, the complexity of our bureaucracy is so overwhelming. That's why you got these dumb morons that are only, their only worries is to figure out, if Britney Spears shitted out another kid, or, if Paris Hilton has a monkey on her crotch. I mean, that's basically all these folks give two craps about, and that's why whenever they confront the political issue or any type of real political issue, it's so complicated for these morons. They just forget about it. They just drop it. They just figure, oh, well, the world's going to go on anyway. Who cares? I'm still shoveling food down my gullet. Who cares? I'm still buying, $3,000, $4,000 plasma screen TVs on credit. I'm still buying Chinese goods from manufacturing plants in China that took American means of production away. Yeah, everything's great. I mean, this is just too complex. This politics thing, I just don't want to deal with it right now. All right, look at me. Look at the girth on my fat jelly ass here. I'm living a good life. I don't want to be complicated by these politics, by these political issues. That's how these idiots think out here in America. And then, you know what, when something doesn't go their way, when what people have been saying, what people that keep up with the system, people that read, and people that go out and try to figure out all the different tentacles of our bureaucracy of government, when they finally bring to light on a grassroots level that these problems are happening, these Nimrodic buffooneries out here completely just, they don't even want to have anything to do with the subject matter, but when what happens, what these people have always said come to flourish, you got the Nimrodic buffooneries that always shun the people that have always suggested that nefarious activity was happening, and then when it comes to flourish, you got these morons wondering why. Well, what happened here? Well, what happened is you were too busy shoveling food, all right? You didn't want to put the freaking fork down for 5 minutes, pick up something to read, all right? And you don't even have to pick up something to read anymore, I mean, it's just so easy. If you have an internet connection, why you are not spending your off time, in the internet looking at all the billions of libraries at your fingertips, that's just intellectually lazy, folks. And this is my criticism on America at this point. Now, the root of it is up for debate, and we'll definitely have a show about that. We'll definitely will, but we got a public education system that dumbs down our population. It is obvious. I mean, this is not theoretical. Just look at it, just plain observation. Nobody knows about the bureaucracy of our government anymore. You want to know why? Because they don't want you to know. They want to be able to pass all this lobbyist-based legislation. People need to start knowing. They need to start understanding that they can't turn a blind eye to this political machine we call our American government. We just can't do it anymore, man. We've got a lot of people out here just not giving two rats' asses. All they care about is guzzling down beer and shoveling food down their gullet like a garbage disposal, and as long as nothing interferes with those activities, they could give two rats' asses if their country is being sold away to the highest bidder out here. And the reason is, folks, is because we have a ridiculous public education system. We've got a social landscape out here that only perpetuates ignorance, okay, folks? I mean, we do. I mean, just look at our television, all right, and look at it critically, okay? I know it's kind of hard to look at television and look at it from a third-party perspective, all right, because it's you watching the television. But if you take yourself out of your body, all right, just try to do it once or twice. Take yourself out of your body and try to look at yourself watching a box with moving pictures and some audio, and take a look at the reactions that you're giving yourself to this ridiculous garbage that's humoring you, that's pacifying you, that's the prop to occupy your time. And then you wonder why this whole American community is dumber than a damn doorknob. I just don't understand why people just don't wake up And, folks, we still live in a free society. This is the greatest society on the face of the universe. But let me tell you something, by all the nefarious legislation that's being enacted by these power-hungry autocrats in Washington, I don't know whether or not if it's going to be a free society anymore. I mean, you got these autocrats that we elected into office wiping their asses with the Constitution. And I urge everybody who listens to me, Google the Constitution, print it out, and carry it around in your damn pocket. Because those are your unalienable rights, folks. Got a lot of people out here that don't give a rat's ass. Just as long as they get an artery-clogging triple cheeseburger down their gullet, that's all they care about. Just as long as they're guzzling down some Billy Carter beer, that's all they care about. You have to start caring about these things, because this is your government, at least for the time being. This is your government, and I know it's complicated. I know that the public education system has made most of the American people so dumbed down that whenever they see a sentence of words, they just cringe up like they're getting a damn prostate exam. Yeah. They're like, oh, no, oh, yeah, just because they have to read a few things, I mean, haven't you noticed, folks? Just take a look around you. Just take a look at how ignorant we're getting. And this is just out of plain observation. Take a look at the fact that we no longer have words on most general corporate places. We no longer have words signifying male and female bathroom. You know what we have? We have symbols. That's right. And I want you all, if you just happen to be bored and out and about, take a look at how many symbols have been substituted for words out here. Just take a look. It's just a pure observation. Take a look at how many symbols are substituted for words that are now universally accepted in any language. If they look at that symbol, that means that universal-based whatever it means. And let me tell you, it's getting worse and worse. And it's because we have a public education system that's dumbing our asses down. And let me tell you, I've said it and I'll continue to say it, you don't have to be an articulate intellectual to have some goddamn common sense. You don't. So take your heads out of your damn colon pipes. All right? I know it's clogged up there. I know every time you talk, you just hear a constant echo because there's so much hollowed out garbage in your colon. Take it out, cleanse it out, and start thinking for yourself, for Christ's sake. I mean, you've got this brilliant tool called the Internet. I mean, it's a brilliant tool. It's unbelievable. I mean, look, you got to think about it, and I've written a great article about it. I don't want to toot my own horn, but beep, beep. But the bottom line is that the Internet is the most brilliant tool for the individual, for the person. And what I mean by that is that you can get whatever content you seek. It doesn't matter what radical kind of subject matter. It doesn't matter if you're trying to seek something that you can't find out here in the general bookstores. It doesn't matter. The Internet is the ultimate tool. You can find what you want at an instant, at the click of a button. I mean, this is the ultimate tool, folks, and we've got American people, instead of utilizing this tool, the Internet, to go out and search for things, read a little bit, understand this bureaucratic machinery that is their American government. Instead, they're going out and becoming a bunch of deviants and searching for pornography. That's what we have out here, folks. And if they're not doing that, they're going into these chat communities, becoming a bunch of deviants out here, becoming fodder for this ridiculous Chris Hansen and the Catch a Predator. And let me tell you, all those men that were caught in that Chris Hansen, the Catch a Predator show, they should all be castrated. Let me tell you something. They should be put to death. But that's another show. That's another story. I don't even want to talk about that subject matter, but this is what I'm talking about. The subject matter is the Internet, folks. And we need to be a little bit more politically endowed, so to speak. And we have a public education system that completely takes out the concept of critical thinking, cognitive reasoning. All they want you to know is how to pass a ridiculous ABCD test. And what I mean by ABCD, that's your choices. You bubble it in. And that's what's supposed to be creating great products of society out here. Ridiculous multi-choice tests. That's great. No type of cognitive reasoning, no type of critical thinking, not even common sense, for Christ's sake. And then we wonder why our children are a bunch of morons. They're morons because that's the way the public education system made them. That's the way the media embraces them. The media loves this absolute, I like to say that we're going into another dark age because, everybody out here is just absolutely stupid. And I'm sorry, folks, if you're taking offense to that. I mean, I'm sure, believe me, I've met many intellectuals. I've met many people who have common sense, who have passion for this country, who believe in the American Constitution. But for the most part, folks, most people lack depth. Most people lack the foresight to understand that, hey, this is my government, and the only way that it's going to continue to be my government is if I participate in this government. How do I participate in this government? Well, I've got to educate myself about the tentacles of this bureaucracy of the United States government. I got to understand, where do I fit in this bureaucracy? At a local level, at a regional level, at a federal level. I mean, these people got to understand that, look, empirically there is evidence that shows that this is somewhat of a free society. It's probably the freest society on the face of the universe in world history. But it's being taken away slowly but surely because the American people are so stupid out here. I mean, just take a look at how many people actually go out, get up, and vote. These people are so stupid out here. Whenever you try to attempt to facilitate any type of political debate with anybody, it gets so complicated for them that they just want to go away. Oh, get away from me. I just don't want to talk about it. I just don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about it, please. I mean, it's like you're trying to give them a prostate exam with a Mark McGuire bat. It's ridiculous, folks. People need to stop cringing at the thought process of trying to pick up something with words and constructed sentences on it and actually reading the damn thing. But you see, we have a society, folks, that's embracing dumbing down America. And believe me, and I'm sorry, folks, if you're an intelligent person, I mean, I can't make an assumption that you aren't an idiot either, all right? Because you got even intelligent people, doctorate degree graduates that lack common sense, that are out here, with their heads shoved so far up their ass, they're all science, no philosophy. They also lack critical thinking, folks. You don't have to be an articulate intellectual to have some damn common sense. And that's my point. This is the greatest social experiment on the face of the universe, folks. And we have empirical evidence that people, if they get organized around an issue that organizes enough people to rock enough constituencies out here across the Congress, across the Senate, things can change. Things can change, folks, okay? Just take a look at the civil rights movement. All right, and anybody who lived during that time, it was just like a metamorphosis of transition. Granted, you always had your racial hatred post-civil rights movement. I mean, you're always going to have that. People are stupid. I mean, they are what they're taught. And if their kids if their parents are nothing but a bunch of racist, three-tooth, cheese whiz guzzling, trailer park trash losers, well then, they're going to turn out to possibly be the same way unless by some chance they meet a third party. And when they meet that third party, they inspire them to be, intellectually curious, which is pretty small. I mean, you probably have a better chance of getting struck by lightning. But it happens. See, it does happen, but it's rare. But the bottom line is, folks, you got the majority of America out here completely ignorant to the fact that this is their government.
All right? They're completely ignorant to the fact of what the hell the Constitution is, let alone what's said in the damn thing. And I think that people need to wake up and understand that this is a one-party government now, all right? There's no difference between Republicans and Democrats. Are you kidding me? It's obvious, man. Just take a look at this John Turncoat McCain. And now you've got Barack Hussein Obama out here. Now he's going out in a damn turban. Did you see this, folks? And I know that this was the basis of the show, and I went off on a tirade. But what does everybody think about Barack Hussein Obama, you know, with the turban picture that's coming out that was allegedly leaked out by the Clinton administration? And I've told all you folks, and you can look back in the archive, I have told you, you all shouldn't have anointed Barack Obama as the chosen one out here. I'm telling you, the Clinton slime machine is unbelievable. I told you that this Clinton slime bag machine is unpredictable, and everybody who was anointing Barack Hussein Obama, I told you can look back in the archive. People that listen to me, I told you. But the bottom line is that there's a photo out of Barack Obama, a photo out of him with a turban. He was, I don't know how old he was or whatever the case might be, but it is a pretty damning piece of footage, if you will. I mean, he's sitting there with a turban on his head. It is Barack Obama, young Barack Obama. I don't know how old he is. If you know the exact facts behind this subject matter, I encourage you to give me a call, 646-652-4869. Give me a call right now. Let me know what's going on. We saw Barack Hussein Obama in a turban. And I want to thank everybody who's tuning in with me right now and everybody who's in the chat room. And you can get to the chat room, folks, at www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. What's going on to everybody who's in the chat room right now? But yeah, you know, Barack Obama, and I knew this was going to happen. And you can look back at my archives, and I've been saying it, and I've been always consistent. Everything that I've said in the past is now starting to come to flourish. And the only reason that is, folks, is because it's common sense. All right, you take empirical evidence, base it on the evidence that is happening in the current situation, and you make a calculation on those two principles. And you also look at the social landscape as well. You know, the social landscape is very important because right now you have a lot of people out here that are, the social landscape's pretty bad. You know, a lot of my shows have been about me being a foot soldier for the American family, me highlighting the fact that the American family is being completely decimated, and it's being completely decimated by the tentacles of the liberal media, by the liberal media embracing the fact that the social ills, or what used to be the social ills, are now the social norms. The media is playing a part in this. The government is playing an indirect part in this. Based on certain liberal entitlement legislation. You know, I've had folks call into me several times suggesting to me that, you know, they're a family. You know, I mean, they're trying to raise a family, and they're meeting some hard times in this unstable economy. And rightfully so, folks. If you're finding it hard to get by in this economy, believe me, I've been talking about this economy. I've been talking about the devalued American dollar. But they were just saying to me, look, Ghost, I never wanted to take any kind of assistance. You know, I'm a proud person, but I'm a working person, and there's no jobs out here. And one person suggested to me that their wife went in and tried to get some assistance. It's not as if they were wanting to be entitled for the rest of their lives. They wanted to just get entitlements just to get back on their feet, start working for themselves, having some dignity, taking care of their family. And you know what these social workers suggested to this woman? They suggested that she should divorce her husband, all right, because she had like 3 or 4 kids. They suggested that she should divorce or split up from her husband so she could get more money from our system. Do you understand this, folks? And this is not the first time or the last time I've heard this. They suggested to her that she should divorce or split up from her husband. This way she would get subsidized housing, welfare, food stamps, free child care, job placement program. I mean, they started naming out the works. what they could do for her if she would just divorce her husband. But because her husband is out there trying to make a living, doing whatever it takes just to make a dollar, just to keep a roof over their head, clothes on their backs, foods on the table, just because she's married, she can't get enough of government assistance that's going to, be able to appease the family needs that are necessary. And this is the system that we elected out here as American people. And you see, they're being used as a tool by the liberals to decimate the American family. If you don't have a family, folks, and this has been my thesis, and I will die believing this, okay? The foundation of humanity is based on family. Now, when I say that, I get misconstrued all the time by folks that are single. They're like, well, what are you talking about, Ghost? People that are single are morons? No, absolutely not. If you're single and you choose to be single and you want to go out and participate in philanderous affairs and you're being responsible about it, you're not bringing any children into this world about it, and you're not ruining the sanctity of marriage by getting in and out of marriages like dirty, crappy underwear. Well, absolutely not. This is America. You have the right to do that. And you see, all these idiots that basically disagree with my perspective on the American family, that's what they try to utilize. They say, well, I'm single, Ghost. Are you trying to say that I'm a moron or, I'm less of a person? Absolutely not. Okay? Absolutely not. I'm just suggesting that if you're going to get yourself in a situation where you're going to marry yourself with another person, and if you're going to have a child with a person, I think that there is a certain code of moral ethos that encompasses that. And you can trace that back to the first man that is documented geologically and, through fossils and that sort of thing. You can chronicleize that all the way back to the first man. What kept people together, during the first, evolution of man, if you believe evolution, what happened was, what kept them together was family and language. The ability to communicate. That's the only thing that kept people together. Family and language, folks. And you see, that's why I'm a foot soldier for the American family. When I see the American family being decimated by the unstable economic landscape that we have here in America caused by the bureaucrats in Washington, when I see these entitlement programs that were supposed to be meant to help American families in a time of need, on the contrary, they're participating in the decimation of the American family. This kind of thing frustrates me, folks, because if we don't have American families as the majority of America, then what does this country have to work for? Why does it have to fight for? What are they fighting for if they're just, a single mother with 6 kids from 6 different fathers? They don't care. They're getting all kinds of entitlements from the government. They're getting subsidized housing, free welfare, child care, government cheese, all the programs in the book. And on top of which, at the end of each year, the government in their little tax return, tax rebate post-January 1st, when these females file their tax returns, what do they get? They get $1,500 to $2,000 a kid right now every year. So why work? What for? This is what I'm talking about, and nobody wants to talk about these issues here. Every time I attempt to facilitate a debate on the American family and the decimation of it, everybody tries to chastise me as some sort of chauvinist or some sort of ridiculous bastard or something. All I'm simply saying, folks, is that, look, this is America. You have the right to do what you want to do. But when you start breaking a moral code that has been in the motivating force of man since the beginning of man itself, which is family and language, then I think that we're doing something wrong. I think that we're breaking away from the laws of nature when we make it okay to go ahead and just let women, under the guise of sexual liberation, because this is why I'm such against feminism, folks, because all this sexual promiscuousness and all this, women having 5, 6 kids from 5 or 6 different fathers, it comes from the feminist movement. All right, I mean, they're disguising that as sexual liberation. I mean, you know, they think that activity, they're embracing it. I mean, and you can tell by the institutions that have been infiltrated by the feminists and liberals, they are embracing this activity. I mean, just take a look at Britney Spears out here. Just take a look at all these ridiculous bimbos that are put up on pedestals and have spotlights on them thanks to the liberal media. Just take a look at them and their activity. You know, just take a look at them. And this is what I'm talking about, folks. We need to start encouraging some sort of, you know, family values. And I'm not saying that based on any religious principle. You see, that's the bad part about conservatives, too. You got a lot of very religious people out here. And granted, I mean, I'm a religious man myself, but, I mean, when it comes to politics, that's a different sphere of consciousness. You understand? I mean, that's what encompasses our whole social order is politics. And that's why when I base my whole premise on social moral ethos, I base it on the premise of the political realm, of the political sphere of consciousness. I talk about the early man, what motivated them. And you can go back to any part of the globe during the early transition from, I mean, I don't believe in evolution, but I'll debate evolution because I have read Darwin's theory, and I'll play the debate. The debate is that early man, as it progressed and evolved from Neanderthal into what we know of as Homo sapien, or man, or what we now know of as man, the motivating force was family. And that's why they were able to go out. That's what motivated them to go out and hunt animals that were 3-4 times their size. And what do they do with those animals? They utilize every part of those animals to what? And this is what we're doing now today. What do? They clothed their family. They fed their family. They housed their family. So you see, folks, this is my basis for moral ethos as far as, you know, implementing it as a part of society. I mean, if you look at the social landscape of every empire that ever fell, and you compare it to the social landscape that we're seeing right now in America, it seems very eerie, and I've said this before. Take a look at Greece before it fell, and take a look at the social landscape during that particular time period, and what are you going to see? You're going to see a social landscape that's just really eerie to what we're seeing here in America. You take a look at Rome, the same situation. Rome was the big empire that ruled for so many years, that was the most technologically advanced as far as the civilizations of antiquity. And what happened to them? Take a look at their social landscape before they fell. It looks a lot like this right here. And this is my point. Every time I come up on Blog Talk Radio Network, this is all I'm suggesting to you folks. I'm not telling you to believe in anything. I'm not telling you to oblige yourself to anything. All I'm suggesting to you is certain particular issues that are obvious due to empirical evidence, documented evidence, and mere observation. And all I'm suggesting to you folks is to start talking about these things, man. We can't keep thinking that we're a bunch of morons out here. We can't keep accepting the fact that we can just turn on the boob tube and be appeased with that to occupy our time. We have to actually read something. We're on the internet right now. All right? I mean, if you're on the internet, there are a billion libraries at your fingertips. Go out and use it. You can read whatever you want. And if you have knowledge that nobody else has out in the internet, if you have knowledge, if you've got books, if you've done extensive research, well, by God, get yourself a website and put it out there for the world to see. This is the internet, man. There should be no excuse for any ignorant piece of trash that's going out here and voting for somebody like Barack Obama because he has nice teeth. People should be voting based on the issues, based on the political structure that is our American government, on the issues that affect America. America. Remember us, the American Constitution? None of these candidates are talking about it. Why? Because none of the public is talking about it. The public are being a bunch of idiots. This is what I'm talking about, folks. The lack of political discourse, the lack of political debate, the lack of organization based on issues or principles is leading us down the road that we're seeing politically right here in America today. And I'm telling you, folks, we still live in a free society, and I'll say it again, we still somewhat live in a free society. But what we have to do, and I don't care what your political persuasion is, you need to look deep inside yourself and say, okay, look at yourself in the mirror and say, look, what's important to me? What's the issue that affects me, that's most important to me, that I would die for, that I would base my whole life principles on, that really affects me from my heart, from the passionate pit of my soul? What issue is it? And folks, once you figure out that issue, what you need to do is you either need to figure out if there's other people that think like you, and there's a group out there that thinks like you, well, go join that group. And if there's not, well, then by God, make your own group. This is American democracy, folks. You can do that sort of thing out here in America. This is the freest society on the face of the universe. But let me tell you something. We're seeing a transition. And I'm telling you, we are seeing a transition of our freedoms being withered away. And the only reason why I think that this system still works is because we have empirical evidence that it works. And the empirical evidence are things like the Civil Rights Union, or Civil Rights Movement, excuse me. I mean, the Civil Rights Movement can show you, and that wasn't that far back in our American history, folks. The Civil Rights Movement goes to show you that popular demand can basically dictate the way the government runs itself. I mean, you had LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson. He signed in the Civil Rights Act. And let me tell you something. This man didn't like other races that didn't look, like him. I mean, it's documented. All the recordings, you can look it up for yourself. The man was racist, or at least he made racial overtones, racial slurs, and yet he still signed in the Civil Rights Act. Why? Why did he do it? He did it because everybody in America wanted it to be done. So he did it. So that's what I'm suggesting to you, folks. I'm not telling you to believe in what I believe. I'm not telling you to do anything. All I'm asking you to do is pick up a book and read something. Read about something. Get some substance into yourself. That's all I'm suggesting to you, folks. Understand that this bureaucracy that is our American government is complicated, but you need to understand it, because if you don't, you're going to have these lobbyists and everybody else who's actually participating in the process basically swaying our government into their particular persuasion. And it's frustrating, man. It's just frustrating to me. Anyway, folks, 646-652-4869. We're going to take a call here. 419, you're on the air.
Hey, Ghost, this is Heather. How's it going?
How's it going, Heather?
It's going pretty good. I was just listening to your show, and then I was thinking, to myself, it just seems that America is at a place where we need to choose either one or the other. And the two things I think we need to choose is either national sovereignty, because, I think people who, just to backtrack a little bit, I think that people who don't live in a state where there's a lot of change going on, like you live in Texas,
yeah.
I live in Illinois. My family's in Ohio, and I know a lot of people in Michigan. You know, the places where things are getting kind of interesting, like economically or with the I-35 corridor. People just lose sight of this. But I honestly think we're at a place where we need to choose if we want to police the world, which is something that we're doing right now, or if we want to strengthen our sovereignty, because people in America are getting mad. Right now it's just the minority, but the way that we're going is just that everybody's going to be angry. I just feel like it's something really dangerous in the air in America. I don't know if I'm articulating it well or not.
Well, it is really dangerous because, first of all, and I made this point yesterday, and I believe a couple of shows back as well, is that this devalued dollar that we're having to deal with here is a very serious situation, and the fact that we're in so much debt, and you incorporate that with the fact that we're not producing anything, we're setting an unprecedented economic precedent. And that means we are consuming more than we produce. And I think it was you that said it first, and then I did a little research on it, and I actually, said it myself that, you know, in the Great Depression, we were actually producing things, and yet we still had a Great Depression. Now, the reason we had a Great Depression was based on mass hysteria. A lot of people went into the banks and pulled out their money, and then you had the banks calling back loans, and it was just a crippling domino effect, and put a lot of people out of work, and it was a serious situation. And yet we were still producing things on an international economic front. Now, right now, we're not producing a damn thing, and if some mass economic hysteria, which could happen at any point. As a matter of fact, I've read, you know, I've done a lot of research on economics. I mean, it could happen by a business bigwig saying something ridiculous, and everybody running for cover, pulling out their stocks, taking out money from the bank. You know, it could be a very serious situation. As a matter of fact, you combine that with all the subprime mortgage crisis that we're going through, and the amount of debt that's the average American family has in America, the average American person, I should say, has in America. It's a very serious situation, and I think that we need to have politicians, which none of these politicians are talking about these subject matters. We need to start talking about them, and you're right. We need to start worrying about American sovereignty, or whether or not we're going to submit to some sort of kind of a one-world government. And I don't mean to be saying that in any kind of conspiracy theorist type of rhetoric, but because of the lack of participation of America or the American people in our democracy, we're having the people who actually participate in it, which is typically going to be the elitists, because the elitists, you know, they're the ones with the money. It's very easy for them to organize. All they have to do is spend a few dollars, and you know, you can organize some people, you know, based on you know, monetary means, if you will. And what happens is these people end up pushing legislation that's going to be in their interest. And the reason that they're going to push legislation that's in their interest because they're the only ones participating in the process. And I think that's a very serious situation. And that's why I'm yelling at people. I'm trying to get people to go out, read something, participate in their government, write their local city government, their state government, their federal government, write everybody, make sure they know who you are, and try to organize people around issues or around principles. I mean, that's the only way you're going to make an impact in America as far as changing legislation, as far as getting the politicians to, you know, view your perspective from your perspective.
So, yeah, I think that when you look at the stock market, today it is up, and it's up by like 1%, a little over 1%, but it's like you have to ask yourself, why? We're not bringing anything to the table. It just seems like everything is artificially high at this point, and I don't see what we're bringing to the table that would warrant so that the stock to even be up at all. I mean, it should be down by a lot. I mean, you look at the banking crisis, the credit crisis, like you said, the housing crisis, all these things are into play, but the stock market is up, and we haven't really introduced anything into the market that would warrant so much investment into the American economy, because as we look now, even the Federal Reserve, they released their numbers late last month that they have made more money than they actually have, that they made more money, like physically made it, like, you know, produced more money. That they produced more money. I'm trying to think of how they put it. They produced more money than they actually needed. It's basically that they're making money out of thin air at this point. They're making money like on credit at this point. And I'm like, if everything is okay, why are we making money on credit? Because I always thought when I was in school, it was always considered $1 for $1, a quarter for a quarter. When a dollar gets past its usefulness in terms of being like physically, you know, unable to be, you know, be worn and torn, you make another dollar. But it seems like we're making another dollar to replace a dollar, but we're also making another dollar to pay off debts, and that just continues. I mean, it's just, everything is just going haywire to me.
It's very serious, Heather. I mean, you know, I try to convey this to folks that listen into the program here, and, you know, it's a very serious situation. And like I stated earlier in this program, I was suggesting that the reason American folks don't really participate in my view, is because, first of all, obviously we got a public education system that dumbs down our society. It's obvious. Anybody who tries to debate me on it, I'd be more than happy to make you look like a mental midget. But it's obvious that this public education system is dumbing down our populace, and at the same time, our system is so bureaucratic and it's very complicated that it definitely takes either someone teaching the whole bureaucratic system to another person, or that person having the initiative to go out and read and understand it for themselves. And obviously our public education system isn't really explaining our government structure or the bureaucratic system that is our government. And at the same time, you're not going to have people out here that are going to have the initiative to read and understand what their government is and how to participate and how to actually make change in this government. Because, I mean, there's just too many obstacles. There's too many things deterring the American mind into actually focusing on what's important. And what's important is participation in this free government that was given to us by our forefathers via the American Constitution.
You sound like you're worn out. But I was looking at a comment that Ozone posted in the chat room. He said that companies are producing more, and that's why the government is making more money. That's not necessarily the case, because you got to keep in mind that if the government was making more money because they had more consumers for the money, then we wouldn't be in a deficit. Because when the government sells money, they sell it at a fee. I know that's strange, but they do sell it at a fee, like an interest rate, or you have to pay like a percent. Like every dollar you pay a percent more. And the fact that we're making this money, but the fact that there's nothing to really back it up, then it's not really based on the companies. That's just basically telling us that we're making money just for the sake of making money.
Yeah, well, that's obvious, Heather. Let me tell you, I've acknowledged that many times on this show, that the only thing keeping our currency afloat is our faith in it.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason that our money is worth anything at this point. It's so devalued on an international market scale that, no one's taking it anymore. I mean, I remember being able to go out to wherever in the blue hell on the international community, go out, pull out some American presidents, and anybody will accept it. I doubt, I haven't been out of the country in a while, I doubt that would be the case up to this point. I mean, we've got people in our own country nowadays that won't even accept the American dollar based on the devaluing of it. So I think that it's a very serious situation that no one's talking about. And as a matter of fact, I think it's very complicated for people to understand, and that's my whole premise on the reason why nobody participates in the system, because it's so complicated for the simplistic American mind that they rather just not deal with it, and just as long as they're shoveling down, an artery-clogging triple cheeseburger down their pie hole, I mean, that's basically all that matters, just as long as nobody separates them from their food and their TV.
Absolutely. Because I think we're really just buying time at this point. I really think that at this point we just need to pull everything in and just take care of ourselves at this point, because we have more obligations than you're taking in. I mean, the American government is like the worst bookkeeper in the world. I mean, how do you continually make all these commitments around the world, but nothing's being done here? I mean, we have a potential something that could possibly be a crisis in Montana with the Second Amendment situation.
Yeah, I know. And let me tell you, Heather, it comes down to the lack of participation in the system by the general American public. It's just, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, and I've been utilizing and citing the civil rights movement as a prime source of the fact that this is a free society, man. I mean, it was very, very bad pre-civil rights movement. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, if you look at film of that particular time period, it was just unbelievably bigoted and just horrible. But you see, you had enough people in America that actually believed that, hey, wait a minute, this is just wrong. You had civil disobedience by in the cases of marches and peaceful demonstrations, nothing that had to do with anything of a violent nature.
Yeah.
And what happened? Well, the government subdued to the fact that most of the people in America wanted the Civil Rights Act initiated, and that's why Lyndon Baines Johnson, a historical racist, signed it into power, because the majority of the American people told him to do so. Yeah. And that right there within itself, and that wasn't a long time ago, that goes to show you that this system does work to an extent,
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I hope it doesn't have to get to that point, but it seems almost inevitable, because we're spending more money than we have. Everything seems to be, the focus seems to be overseas, while, GM offered buyouts to every single hourly employee in their corporation.
Yeah, I read about that.
That's just huge. I mean, that's like a big slap in the face that they are basically transitioning out of America.
Well, and you see, what's unfortunate about it is, where are we going to go from here at this point? And this is why, a person, whoever's going to be president, or at least our leaders in Congress and Senate, we got to make sure that we send people up there that know what economics is all about. And it doesn't take a brain scientist. All it takes is the fact that we need leaders to be able to make a comfortable economic landscape to perpetuate jobs, entrepreneurship, American business that stays in America. Because there's nothing we're producing out here that's generating employment. The only thing that we're producing is entertainment and cheeseburgers, and every other employee outlet has to do with the bureaucratic education system, the financial institutions that handle our money, and the medical industry. And that's it. That's all we have is occupations in this country, and I think that we need to start building from that. We need to start building more jobs, building more opportunity. We need a president that is going to be conducive to that. We don't want handouts like these people on the left are talking about. I mean, that's not what the American person wants. They want to be able to have a job that's going to be able to sufficiently supply them with enough income to be able to maintain sustenance and to be able to have enough left over to appreciate life and to appreciate the free society that previous generations spilt their blood for.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the time, Ghost. I appreciate it.
No problem, Heather. Thank you for calling.
No problem. Thanks.
You have a good evening. And you know what, folks, we're not talking about any of these issues, I mean, that's what it comes down to, and I see that there's, several Blog Talk radio hosts in the chat room, and I know that you have shows and whatnot, and all I can do is encourage you to talk about issues that affect America. I mean, who really gives two rat's asses about, any of these imbecilic issues that are being brought up here on both the left and the right? Let's talk about issues that affect America. All right, let's talk about the fact that we have a devalued American dollar, and the only thing keeping it afloat is our own conscience, folks, our own belief in this money. That's the only thing keeping it alive. You've got high-end retail outlets in New York City that are actually not accepting American money. They're only accepting euros from the European Union. In America, folks, that's right, in America. And you've got a lot of markets now trying to convert their currency into euros as well, folks. I mean, this is going to be a devastating situation. And we have incurred a whole massive amounts of debt. That's also devaluing the American dollar. Now, I've suggested, since we're in Iraq at this point, and this is why I don't understand why no president nominee is talking this rhetoric here, but I don't understand why at this point we are not demanding the debt that the United States has incurred by liberating the people of Iraq. I don't understand why the United States hasn't demanded for that debt to be starting to pay back. All right? They have the second largest oil deposit in the world, folks. So they can pump this crap out and sell it on the international market to pay us back with interest. And none of these presidents are talking about that as an option at all. On the contrary, you've got the cut and run, tuck tail, get the hell out of there on the left, and you've got idiot John McCain saying, oh, well, I don't care, we're there for 100 years. I mean, great. I mean, why would we be there for 100 years? What purpose? Is there an economic interest? Is there a geopolitical interest? I mean, why don't you explain, McCain? That's what makes me sick about these damn these presidential candidates out here. It makes me sick. It should make you sick. They don't talk in detail and try to make the American person understand what they're talking about. They're completely abstract, purposely vague, and that's why I'm just disgusted with the kind of crap that we're sending to Washington. And all I can suggest to you folks is just talk about these issues with everybody, your family, your friends. Just talk about them. You know, I'm not telling you to believe in something. You got all these morons in the blogosphere, YouTube, BTR, and other mediums that are used by the internet to convey commentary. You got these morons trying to tell you, well, you need to believe in me, and that's all there is to it. That's ridiculous. That's Karl Marx communism, folks. I'm not telling you to do that. All I'm telling you to do is let's have some political discourse about politics, about social issues here, about economics. Let's talk about these things in a serious, critical manner, not in some ridiculous, abstract, vague, concept that no one really gives two rats' asses about. And let me tell you something, folks. If any of this is a little complicated for you, okay, because I know that we're covering a lot of subject matters, but hey, that's our system, that's America, that's the American government, and what is the American government? A whole humongous big bureaucracy. But you're in charge of it, because it's the American people's government, folks, and you idiots that are out there shoveling food down your gullet need to put the freaking fork down for about 5 minutes and understand that this is your government, you idiot! I mean, this is just ridiculous, folks. I just don't understand why nobody else is as mad as I am out here, you know? I mean, you got the left out here jumping for joy. They think this is the greatest time in American history because they actually believe that we're going to make the transition from our America as we know it into some ridiculous quasi-communist socialist government. And they actually believe that, folks. And let me tell you, all this political correctness, all this feminist movement garbage, I said it in the beginning of the show, I'm going to have a show about it here in the next few days. Keep up to date with me, if you will. Put me on your favorites, or just, if you can, every now and then check out blogtalkradio.com/ghost, because I'm going to have a serious show about feminism, liberalism, political correctness, and its communist roots, folks. I've got documentation, I've got documentaries that people can watch, and I'm going to give it all out on this show, because I'm telling you, folks, Marxism has changed its shape. It's changed its methodology. All right? And let me tell you, if you can't wait until that show and you want to do your own research like I suggested, check out Frankfurt University. That's right, Frankfurt University. Take a look at that university. Take a look at the first people that created that university. All right? Take a look at the individuals that wrote political and social theoretical concepts at that university. And you will understand, folks, that the root of political correctness, the root of feminism, the root of ultraliberalism comes from that ridiculous communist-based university, and you should read the amount of filth that came out of there, and it's coming to flourish right here in this day and age. These idiots that wrote at that university, and you can read for it for yourself if you don't believe me, folks. Frankfurt University, look it up, and you will see that the roots of feminism, the roots of political correctness, they were created at that university. They were created to implement Marxism, folks. And if you don't believe me, do your own research. Do your own research. Tired of people sitting here saying, oh, that's a bunch of malarkey, Ghost. That's a bunch of malarkey. It's not malarkey. Do your own research. And if not, come back and see me, because I'm going to have a whole presentation on the damn thing on a show here in the near future. This is a methodology by the left, folks. This political correctness, this feminist movement. Everything that has happened, all the social ills that have turned into the social norm at this point, the root of it comes from those idiots out there at Frankfurt University, the idiots that started the damn thing, the idiots that created political and social theoretical works. And I'd like for you to read them, folks. I've read them, and I think that you people need to read them. the foundation of what they talk about. And basically, in a nutshell, they talk about utilizing this new method of agitation, this new method of political correctness. You should really read this stuff. It's very fascinating that these morons, which are devout Marxists, devout communists, these idiots actually wrote papers and theoretical works on things that are coming to flourish in today's society, folks. I mean, come on, man, wake up. We are seeing a transition right now unless we wake up out of our fat jelly-ass dreams. All right? We need to get up and get out, get off the damn couch, you fat jelly-ass bastards. I know many of you have got cottage cheese asses out there, and you don't want to get up and you don't want to read. And I'm not making a blanketed statement. I don't mean to make a general statement. I know there's a lot of people out there that have common sense, that want to perpetuate discourse, political debate, that actually understand our bureaucratic system, and I commend you and I thank you for listening. But I'm talking to the general public out there. The general public, that the kind of moron that's going to vote for Barack Obama because he has nice teeth. That's the kind of moron I'm talking about. This is a shame, folks. This is a shame that we're in a presidential election here, and none of the presidential wannabes are saying anything or any type of issue or bringing up anything that has anything to do with America. They're not bringing up the fact that we've got a devalued dollar. They're not bringing up how they're going to try to appease this debt. The only thing that John McCain's doing is running on this straight talk maverick, I'm going to be hard on the war on terror and cut pork barrel spending garbage. But he's a damn contradiction. I mean, just take a look at what was alleged in this New York Times article. He's banging lobbyists out here. I mean, what it's alleged in this New York Times article is that John McCain is exchanging legislation for sexual favors. I mean, that's what it's suggesting in there. Allegedly, of course. And it's just ridiculous to me. I mean, and you can do your own research on that situation with McCain. That's why I'm not voting for anybody, folks. As far as the presidential nomination is concerned, it's lost. It's gone. If you're a true conservative Republican, it's gone. Forget about it. All right, we can just go ahead and kiss the damn presidency goodbye because, you know, there's no conservatives on there. On the contrary, we're seeing the transition into a liberal executive, whether you vote for John Turncoat McCain or whether you vote for people on the left. You see, so that's why I'm not going to vote for any of these presidential nominees because they're all a bunch of liberals that are going to raise our taxes. They're going to put more government in our faces. I mean, and I've said this before, I wouldn't be surprised, whoever ends up president, I wouldn't be surprised if I went into the bathroom and sat on the toilet, I'd have some bureaucrat come up from out of the ground trying to get a stool sample from me. Some bureaucratic government idiot saying, oh, we need your monthly stool sample. Thanks to good old John McCain, Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Rodham Clinton. I mean, I bet you know, people couldn't even take a damn fart without a damn bureaucrat taking a whiff of the damn thing. And this is what I'm afraid of, folks, and this is what I need people to understand, that this is your government. The American government is your government. And what you need to do is you need to organize yourself based on a principle, based on an idea, based on a viewpoint, whatever is important to you, whatever's the most important view or important issue to you. You take that issue and you try to find out if there's people that think like you do. And if there's groups out there that think like you do, well, by God, join those damn things. Join groups that think like you do. And try to become influential in those groups. And if there's nobody that thinks like you do, well, then make a damn group. This is the only thing that's going to create a difference in our democracy, folks. And there's empirical evidence that states that if people organize themselves and base their whole premise based on an issue that generates populist demand, that the government is going to have to submit, folks. And my empirical evidence of that is the civil rights movement, folks. The civil rights movement was based on a pure grassroots level. I mean, it was just based on, you know, civil domestic unrest. And what I mean by that is having peace movement, peace marches, you know, trying to get the point across via a peaceful pacifist message. I mean, they got so many people enthralled with the civil rights movement in America that they changed the law. They enacted the Civil Rights Act. And who enacted it? The historically documented racist Lyndon Baines Johnson. Now, why did Lyndon Baines Johnson sign in the Civil Rights Act? Well, I'll tell you why he signed the Civil Rights Act, folks. Because there were people demanding that he signed it. That's why. And that's why I'm telling you, folks, we're living in the freest society, at least at this point. And we need to organize ourselves based on whatever principle, whatever issue, whatever idea that motivates you. I challenge all of you to go out and find out if there's groups that think like you, and if there's not, create groups that think like you, and start from a grassroots level. Find out every candidate from your local government to your state government to your Congress to your Senate. Find out who these people are and make sure they know who you are and what issues affect you. Because these are your representatives, folks. This is your government, damn it. Take your heads out of your asses, all right? Take it out. I know it's nice and warm up there, and you probably like the smell, but take the damn thing out and understand that I know that this damn public education system has made most of the population in America hate reading a book. I understand that. I understand that we have a liberal media dumbing you down even more by putting dumbass bimbos like Britney Spears, who shaves her noggin. You know, when she shaved her melon, that was like breaking news. It's always breaking news when Paris Hilton has a rat or a monkey or whatever the hell on her crotch. I mean, I know that, you know, our social landscape doesn't perpetuate intellectual curiosity, but I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, from every being that is me, from all the passion that I'm generating to you this evening, I beg you, put the freaking fork down, okay? I know you're hungry, and I know you like shoveling damn food down your gullet like a damn garbage disposal. Put the freaking fork down, get off the couch, roll your fat jelly ass off the couch, and if you're within the sound of my voice, let me tell you something. That means you have an internet connection. And if you have an internet connection and you are still utilizing the television for your news gathering and information, well, then you are intellectually lazy. You need to get your fat ass on the internet and start searching, start reading, start researching something, start understanding your government. I mean, the first thing you can do is Google up the Constitution, print it out, and start carrying it around with you everywhere you go. Read it when you're bored, because those are your rights, damn it. Those are your rights. And people are just taking it for granted. I mean, people are just taking it for granted, folks. And I just don't know what to say. I mean, it makes me angry. I mean, you see me screaming here, all right? I mean, I hope that you people can feel the passion here, because I love America, okay? I love the American Constitution. I don't know about you, but I love America, and I want to continue the American dream. I want to continue the American way of life. I appreciate the American lifestyle, but we need to start talking about issues that affect America as American people. The fact that we are consuming more than we're producing. We need to start talking about that, and we need to start rectifying that. We need to start rectifying our devaluing dollar. We need to start rectifying the fact that we have lopsided international trade deals that have sent American jobs and the means of production into communist China, into Mexico and other third world countries. We need to figure out how to get not those jobs back, or hell, get them back. I don't care. We just need to figure out how to get a better trade deal, because you see, these world trade deals were signed by these bureaucrats that we sent to Washington, and they purposely, I don't know if it was purposely or they were just stupid, they signed these lopsided trade deals that sent all the means of production outside the United States into these communist China, into Mexico and other third world countries, and it displaced millions of people with no jobs. And what do those people have to do? What do they have to compete with now that they're jobless? They got to compete with 20 million illegal immigrants that are devaluing the cost of labor. That's what they have to deal with, folks. And we need to start talking about those issues. We need to start talking about our Second Amendment that's about to be withered away, folks. And if you want to do some research on that, let me tell you, the Supreme Court is going to hear a case here in June, and it started in Montana. The Supreme Court is actually going to hear whether or not the Second Amendment was meant for the general United States citizen, or did the forefathers mean that the National Guard had the right to bear arms, exclusively and only. And you can read that, and I'm telling you, folks, people are wiping their asses with the Constitution, and I encourage you, I beg you, all right? Put down the bonbon, okay? Put down the damn Snickers bar or whatever you're shoveling down your gullet, all right? And go out, print out a version of the Constitution and carry it around with you. Those are your unalienable rights that were given to you by your forefathers, you moron. All right? And I know that you don't like to read. I know that all you like to do is look at the boob tube, and the only reason you like to come on the Internet is look at deviant pornography and act like some sexual perverted Nimrod on voice chat communities. Well, why don't you stop doing that for about 5 seconds and reading something and understanding this complicated bureaucracy that is your government? Remember, it's your government, you idiot. All right? But the only way that it can be your government is if you participate in the damn thing. All right? And by you not participating in the damn thing only benefits those that participated every single time. Those that have the financial means to go out and influence groups of populace to vote in their persuasion for the candidates that are going to vote for their interest. That's why you people need to understand this is your government, folks. This is the United States of America. You need to believe in the American Constitution. You need to get your heads out of your clogged up colon pipes and understand that this is your country. Our country. Anyway, folks, I thank you very much for tuning in with me. I have a sporadic scheduling when it comes to this show, so bookmark blogtalkradio.com/ghost and check up with me every day, because I think I'm going to have a show pretty much every day during the week. And add me while you're added to my MySpace, myspace.com/ghostpolitics. All one word. Anyway, thanks for listening, folks. Long live the conservative movement and death to feminism. And I'm out.
A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.